What's up, folks? You are tuned into the Failing Frequency. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Mike.
And we're here to talk all things Trek and to tell the truth, the real truth, not the lies perpetrated in the mainstream media.
The lamestream media.
We're talking the real truth, okay? This
a hint for what this episode is.
Yeah. This week's theme, we decided to go with a playlist, a nice little Star Trek playlist. We're doing courtroom episodes. But before we get to that, how you doing, Mike?
I'm fucking warm. I'm melting in my chair here. It is, to let people behind the curtain, it is 8:30 here, and it is still too fucking warm.
Yeah, it's light. It's bright outside. There's people still walking around, enjoying the weather.
Yeah.
I am my flat has like a wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling window type situation going on over here.
Yeah.
And so like in the morning it was okay, and then the sun started coming in from here.
Yeah.
Fuck.
You need the old tinfoil on the windows reflecting it back out.
No, I don't need. That would take effort that I could not summon, because it's so hot. The only solutions have to be within arm's reach of my sofa.
Yeah. And before anyone says, well, the UK is not actually that hot.
Go fuck yourself.
A, go fuck yourself. And B, none of our buildings are made for this. We don't have aircon.
Nope.
So when it is 30 degrees outside, it's probably close to 35 inside. So it is warm and humid.
Yep.
It's melting away. Be thankful it's not smell-o-vision, YouTube.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, today we're talking courtroom episodes. With Star Trek, it's like a poem. It rhymes. And we just had a great season of Strange New Worlds where they they did a lot of they did a lot of the classics. We had submarine episodes, we had farce episodes, and it got me thinking about what are the other kinds of things, what are the other kinds of episodes, and if we were going to put them together, what would that like playlist look like? And then in the Facebook group that me and Mike run, Mate It So, mate spelled with an 8.
It's a pun, if you can see.
It's a pun.
Yeah.
Yes. A member of our group, Moshe Heitzen. We had a little exchange. The joke is stupid and doesn't even bear referencing. But the important part is the inspiration that he gave me. So shout out to Moshe for inspiring this episode of The Failing Frequency. Courtroom episodes. But since that idea came to us, there's been a real fun court case in the news.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp one. That was a few weeks ago. Did you catch much of that one, Mike?
I did. I didn't get as swallowed up as some people seem to get, but it was, this one is a lot more fun because it is someone who's, I think, with the Amber Heard case, it was two people who seem to both not be perfect people, let's say. And this court case, we've got someone who is, there's a clearer definition of right and wrong, let's say.
Oh yeah, we know who the bad guy is. We know who the bad guy is here. Yeah. Alex Jones has been to court for defamation and has been ordered to award some people a lot of money. What do you know about Alex Jones, Mike?
He's a bit of a bastard. He's had his radio show or YouTube for ages, and in that he just riles people up so he can sell them, fitness supplements and survival gear for the end of days, which never comes.
Yeah. Yep.
So
it's
a bit of a bastard.
Yeah, he's a lot of a bastard. As Mike well knows, I'm into conspiracy stuff. I don't believe conspiracy theories, but I do follow a lot of them, and I do follow a lot of the people that perpetrate them. I consider myself a conspiracy tourist. I don't believe them, but I do know a lot about the people talking shit about it.
Yeah.
And I hate Alex Jones with every fiber of my being. The man is he's a bastard. The focus of this court case, a few years ago, there was a pretty horrific mass shooting, now known as the Sandy Hook shooting, in which 27 children, 26 maybe, too many children were killed by an asshole with a gun. Alex Jones spent years perpetrating the conspiracy that the Sandy Hook shooting was a false flag operation committed by the United States government, and that all of the grieving parents and all of the dead children were actors, and they were lying. These people have suffered a lot in their lives. They've experienced a lot of grief from Alex Jones's followers telling them that they are liars and that they need to tell the truth, harassing these people. And so, he's been ordered to pay the parents of one of the children $4 million, which is pretty cool. Let's hope the rest of the parents get the rest of his fucking money, and this son of a bitch gets fucking ruined.
Yeah. My understanding is there's a limit in the general court system in the US on how much they can actually put on someone for damages. So for the 50 million or whatever he's been actually doled out in that recent court case, it's something, goes down into the single digit millions.
Yep.
So
it was 40 million. It is now 4 million.
Yeah.
But the guy has millions.
4 million better than
the guy is filthy rich. There is more than enough money to get 4 million to the parents of the 26 other children.
Yeah, but more importantly, probably more importantly in the whole structure of the world, having his phone records accidentally sent over might have actually helped democracy as a whole.
Yeah.
So if anyone had on their bingo card for 2022 that Alex Jones was going to help democracy, it was a wild bet, a couple million to one.
Yeah, man.
Congratulations, cashing that bet.
Yeah, that was a spectacular folly on Alex Jones's part. Like, it's the great moment where the plaintiff's lawyer is is trying to explain it to him that his lawyer sent him
everything,
a copy of everything that's on his phone, and then later said that they didn't have it.
Yeah,
and just watching him try and reiterate it to Alex Jones, and watching it slowly dawn on him what's happened. It's been, it's great to see the downfall of an absolute bastard begin.
Yeah, a couple of absolute bastards, hopefully.
For
all we know, it's connected to the raids later on.
Like you mentioned, a lot of the stuff that was revealed in that little packet that Alex Jones's legal team sent to the opposition had shit to do with the January 6th fucking insurrection. Apparently, there's rumors of some some rumors of some vague sexual stuff going on between him and Oliver Stone, allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly. Yeah. Oh, great. That'll be with me forever.
And that, along with Donald Trump's fucking compound at Mar-a-Lago getting raided. Who knows?
Yeah.
This is going to
Been
be
a
a
good
great
week for
week
it.
for the Department of Justice over in the red, white, and blue.
Keep them busy. Keep them busy.
Hilarious stuff.
Anyway, we're talking court episodes in Trek, aren't we?
Enough of the shitty real world. Let's have some escapism, please.
Yeah. So what we were thinking of just doing them in pretty much chronological order.
Yeah, pretty much chronological order.
Yeah. So missing off one probably, but I might mention it later.
We might mention it later on, but it just much like, we'll just say what it is. It's the Enterprise one. Much like a lot of Enterprise, it just muddies everything up.
Yeah, I like a bit of Enterprise. I did rewatch all, 20 odd episodes of court cases this week, and Enterprise was the. I don't know. It's like when you're watching TV and there's no background sound on any scene. That's the only way I could describe it compared to watching all the other series. It was like there was no bass to it. There was no beat that people were working off. I still really like Enterprise, but it's wasn't a great episode.
I think on my rewatch of these courtroom episodes and courtroom scenes from films, getting round to that episode of Enterprise just really kind of highlights just how kind of rubbish the production side of it is. Like, it looks very much like a cheap reproduction of a lot of things from Star Trek that were done better elsewhere and in other times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's a shame that, the jump to widescreen for Enterprise should make it feel real cinematic. And that's an episode where it just does not.
Nope, sorry. Makes it feel much worse. But we've already talked about it too much, I reckon.
We've done too much time on it. So do we want to go to the first courtroom episode?
Let's do it's court martial, right? Let's do that right quick.
Yeah. So court martial is the one where Kirk is getting court-martialed because they went through an ion storm and they had an old classmate of his in an ion pod, I don't know, studying the ion storm. And Kirk says, oh no, I ejected the pod that was, going to cause damage to the ship. But I let the guy know and I had plenty of time. But the videotapes say different. They say, oh no, Kirk ejected it without even telling this guy, and he hates this dude, and you try to kill him. So
yeah, I'm guessing
it's a case of man versus the videotape versus the machine.
Yeah, man versus the tape versus the machine. I couldn't get through this episode. It's just kind of naff. It's a lot of like leaps in logic. There's a lot of leaps in logic. There's a fair bit of overacting. There's a fair bit of like the whole machine as like the judge, like as being part of the judiciary system.
Yeah.
Like I just can't think anyone in their right mind would think that was a good idea.
Yeah, I suppose it's in this weird production area where obviously made in the 60s, they didn't really have that much doctoring of film, not to that extent. So the idea that someone has doctored film is just mind-blowing to them. They can't get past, no, the computer's got to be right.
Lol.
It's a weird one. And the leap in logic Spock has where he's like, oh no, the computer says Kirk did it, so I played the computer in chess and I beat the computer 5 times out of 5, and that shouldn't happen. Okay. I mean, cool. Great.
Well, I mean, like, he's kind of got a point. Like, why is the computer of law even programmed with chess?
Well, he says he programmed it himself.
Can you play Dune on it?
He said he programmed the computer himself to play chess. Spock did. So this computer didn't even come with like Windows 98 games. Didn't come with solitaire. Spock had to teach all the computer stuff.
Which I bet he loved.
Yeah. He does this in his downtime when everyone else sleeps, probably. I will shout out this episode for Cogley, who is Kirk's defense attorney.
Yeah, I think it's funny that like Kirk is this very well decorated Starfleet officer, and yet he's like just assigned some random defense attorney, and and it's like just some dude with like a suitcase and a slightly bent hat, and it's just a dude. It's just a guy.
I like as well that like Kirk goes to see him, and he's got this inherent distrust, or he prefers books rather than computers anyway.
Yeah,
does Cogley? So all his law books are books rather than computers. Yeah. Cogley is a good lawyer, and it will come back in one of the first TNG episodes that we talk about, because they introduce Kirk to the court or bring him up on the witness stand, and they do the touching the hand to a light, and it starts reading out all Kirk's decorations, like, oh, he had this, he did this, he did this. And the opposing counsel, the prosecutors, are saying like, oh, we can skip this. And Cogley's like, no. Mm-hmm. He's done all this work. I demand it needs to be read out. And then he waits for like 2 or 3 more to be read out and goes like, and there's plenty more. We can stop from here. He's like, no, I want this list to be read out, and I'm going to stop it myself, and then just imply it goes on forever. Cogley, king.
I like him. He's a shyster.
Yeah, he's
I like him.
Good old lawyer, Cogley.
Yeah, man. He's somewhat got his thumb on the scale. Yeah, that I like that. That comes back in a TNG episode.
Yeah,
that we'll probably talk about later.
Oh yeah.
But I know what you mean. I will say the what I do like about this episode is it's a great example of Star Trek being that woke bullshit back in the 60s. It features a black man playing an admiral, and not a bad admiral, a good admiral.
He's a Commodore, to be fair to him. I think he's Commodore Stone.
That still counts as as an admiral.
There weren't really many admirals in TOS. They were all Commodores.
Yeah.
And
you don't call them Badmadors.
Badmador.
Oh, good Mador. Commodores. He's a good admiral. I can't remember the name of the actor or the name of the Commodore. But he existed.
Yeah.
I didn't make it up. I wasn't imagining it.
It's real.
It's real. And the other thing I like about this episode,
while you're on diversity, as well as having Stone, a black guy who's at a higher rating than or higher rank than
Stone,
there's also an Indian captain on the court martial, judges.
Very cool.
So we've got multiple. No women, of course. They can take notes in court. They can't be on court.
Yeah, no. Like there's a woman lawyer, and there's a woman lawyer, and there's 2 people of color, of higher rank than the white man. That's enough.
Yeah,
we don't want people straight up having heart attacks in their living rooms.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing that I like about this episode is it does a thing that I always love. In episodes where it starts kind of in the middle of something. Yeah. It starts and shit has already happened. And it comes up, there's a couple more episodes that do this. I like it. Too much preamble is, let's just get into it.
On the remastered as well.
Fill me in as we go.
It starts off with a real nice shot, and it's the remastered, so I tend not to watch the original TOS episodes, the remastered I watch, where the Enterprise is going past and you see the ion bay or ion pod, and it is just completely destroyed. And you go, well, that guy had a bad time. The ship is bruised up. It is nice little shot, and as you say, starts mid story rather than having to do preamble and all that rubbish.
I'm picturing what's his name, like James Cameron in a little pod, going out. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a naff episode, Season 1 of TOS has some weak moments, and I think that this episode is definitely one of them.
Yeah. The only other shout out I have is when they're isolating heartbeats to try and find Finney or to prove that he's alive. McCoy is just going around with a studio microphone to people's hearts. He's just
was he alive? Was he alive in the end? I forgot. I like I said, I didn't finish rewatching it. I was like, this is twaddle.
Yeah. McCoy is walking around with, honestly, it looks looks more of a microphone than this, and he's just touching it to people's hearts to say, and I'll isolate your heartbeat. And then, there's one heartbeat left on the ship that we haven't got accounted for. It's Finney. He's alive. It's real boring rubbish.
God, man, that just feels like so much legwork that I bet the computer could just do.
Yeah. You could just say to the computer, are there any heartbeats not on the bridge? And the computer would go, yes. And that would be it. But never mind. That's courtroom
computer,
episode number 1 done.
Locate James Cameron.
Yeah. He's under the ocean. Yeah. Anyway.
But that's court martial.
Yeah.
Next. Wait. Oh, we should do. I should do. Here, I've got a knife sharpener. Next.
That's
the
what Menagerie.
They say, caught in
it. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
The Menagerie.
To be honest, this is kind of a classic episode. This is like.
Yeah.
So.
The court bit of it is a weird framing device to do the cage for cheap, really, to just reuse film from the cage and go like, okay, we can have a week off if we can film this in like two days. Let's film it and just splice in pieces of the cage. We can all have a holiday.
Yeah.
So,
see, now we're saying this like looking back because we have the cage.
Yeah.
But the cage wasn't available for a long time. The cage is the original unaired pilot of Star Trek. It's where we get, Chris Pike as the captain of the Enterprise. And like, it was unaired for a very long time. I think they only actually aired it on TV just before Next Gen came out.
I believe he did it. Roddenberry used to take it to the conventions as well as a special convention treat for people.
I bet that was cool. I bet that was very cool.
Imagine going and seeing like an episode you've never seen before when the show's been off the air for years.
But they had seen it because they repurposed it in Menagerie, and so like for the longest time, like the Menagerie was like it was a classic episode because it was an episode within an episode, and it was people getting a little window into a show, into a different Star Trek show.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a classic episode in that sense. It's iconic.
Do you want to know the weird thing I only noticed rewatching it like this time?
Right.
The Menagerie starts off on a planet, doesn't it? Court Martial is set on the same planet.
What?
They're both set on Starbase 11.
Bloody hell.
I never noticed, and I was like, okay, where's Commander Stone? Where is Stone?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like
that's where shit goes down. Clearly.
Yeah. It might just be like the center of like court for that sector or whatever.
Well, I mean, the actual court case is on the Enterprise, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of has to be because they've locked in the controls. Spock has.
So, like, in terms of like an actual court case, there isn't really much because literally all it is just Spock spouting vagaries while telling people like, "Trust me, just watch the tape."
Just watch this videotape of a previous episode we shot.
Which is a move that Alex Jones also tried pulling. Well, if you just see the tapes that I've mentioned, just like that does not count as evidence.
No.
Citing tapes, citing videos is hearsay, Spock.
Yeah.
But it's what I believe to be. It's what I believe to be true.
Yeah, I think the only thing I've mentioned for this episode, the court bit of it, is that there's one, or at this point, because later on there's another thing that can give you a death penalty in Starfleet, but the only thing that can give you a death penalty apparently at this point is going to Talos 4, and Spock is like, if you don't tell us why, we're going to have to put you to death. I'm sorry. And there's a fair bit of, we'll have to put you to death. We'll have to be talking about this episode. But it's the weirdest one to me where it's like, you better not go to this planet. Otherwise,
or we'll fucking kill you. Yeah, man. Star Trek has had to do a lot of walking back that aspect of this episode. They've had to reason that up its own arse for 50 odd years. Because it's a weird and extreme and unnecessary step for sure.
Yeah, you better not fly somewhere we told you not to.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but after Strange New Worlds, rewatching the Menagerie hits different.
Yeah,
it hits
but doesn't it feel like it's such a different Pike? It doesn't even feel like the same Pike to me.
Like as in like the same Pike to Strange New Worlds, or the same
to Strange
Pike?
New Worlds.
All right, because like to me,
he just acts so different. I'm just like, nah, this guy can kind of die.
Well,
if we can keep our Pike now, our warm toasty Daddy Pike. This one can die.
He's a head on a box. But like, I don't know. To me, it was like watching a different Pike from the last time I watched the Menagerie. Just because, like now. Like, it's like, I don't know, my brain has now fit Chris into that guy's melty face.
Yeah.
And now we definitely get... Oh, Chris.
Yeah. We definitely get more of, like, why would Spock do this after watching Strange New Worlds? You're kind of like, well, Spock would do this because he's his best fucking mate and saved him, inadvertently says that if you change the timeline, it would kill you, Spock. So I'm willing to die. Thumbs up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. This man. This
god of a man.
Yeah. This wonderful man literally time traveled for me. I can move a ship through space for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good man, Pike. Anything else on Menagerie? I don't think there's much to it, really.
No, not really. Just just some of the standard stuff of like in the cage fun.
Yeah,
the cage is fun. I would have rather watched the cage.
Yeah, I didn't know until recently. The end bit where you see Pike go off with Adra, whatever her name is. Mm-hmm. That's not Jeffrey Hunter. That's a different dude.
Bloody hell.
That is like flawless to me because I was zooming in. This time I was like, no, this is the first time I've watched it since I was
zoom in.
That. Yeah.
Enhance.
Yeah.
Zoom in.
Keyboards.
Yep.
Yeah. Different dude. Didn't even notice.
Crazy shit.
Yeah. So our boy on Strange New Worlds now is like the fourth Pike rather than the third. Who would have known?
So wait, should we be ranking, or should we just rate them? Should we do guilty, not guilty?
Of being a good episode.
Yeah. Guilty.
I put this as not guilty of being a good episode. So therefore a bad episode.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Or do you want to do it as guilty as
let's
bad?
do it. Let's just see how we feel as we go.
Okay.
So we'll say court martial is not guilty of being a good episode. No.
Yeah.
Court martial is guilty of being a bad episode.
Okay, guilty of being a bad episode.
And Menagerie is not guilty of being a good episode.
Okay. This will work for confusing sake.
Yeah, man.
At least we can't be held up on anything.
No, we can't be held up on charges. Not for this.
Ah, good work. Good thematic work. And if you thought we were discussing poor episodes before with the last two, do we want to move on to the Turnabout Intruder, which I think is next?
The Turnabout Intruder. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So in this absolutely crap series finale, Kirk's body gets taken over by, I think, an ex-flame or someone he knew, at least somebody that he used to know, like Gautier. He never.
Oh wait, is that at the end?
Yeah.
Is that at the end or at the beginning?
That's at the end.
Yeah. I know it happens.
And she's incredibly jealous and has like not an amazing life, and apparently can't become a captain because she's a woman. So good work, sexism in the 60s again.
Yay!
And takes over Kirk's body, and in Kirk's body says like, "Oh no, she's mad. Janice Lester is mad, and you're going to have to hold her up. Don't believe anything that she says." And Spock, Kirk in Janice Lester's body says, "Oh no, Spock, you've got to believe me. Mind meld me, and I'll show that I'm Kirk. And I'll talk about previous episodes that we've done to show that I'm actually Kirk." So Spock believes and is ready to mutiny against Janice Lester in Kirk's body. This is confusing.
I did not rewatch this episode.
It's a real bad episode. Not to spoil it, but it's a bad episode.
Not that I didn't want to, because I do. This is an episode that I've always been able to find enjoyment in watching because of how ridiculous and camp it is.
Yeah.
And it's watching this episode. I always kind of revel in the irony that this is the final episode of TOS.
Mm.
And it is one of the worst. It was one of the worst.
Yeah. I mean, it's no Spock's brain. It's just not interesting.
I love Spock's brain. And everyone is wrong. Yeah. And I hate them.
Not Kirk calls a court martial against Spock for trying to mutiny against him. And Spock's presenting his case, and not Kirk is going mad and just being like, "I'll kill you all," which gets more and more people on Spock and actual Kirk's side. So he's like, I'll put you all in jail. We'll fly the ship manually. We'll do this.
I'll put you in jail. And you. This is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
There's a conspiracy against me.
And because she's a woman, it is my interpretation of the writing of this episode, not my actual thoughts, I will say, before anyone pulls me up on it. Because she's a woman, her hysteria lets her or releases Kirk's body, and Kirk gets back into his body. So that classic female hysteria.
Listen, it was the 60s, and from what I've heard from men from the 60s, from what I've heard from men from the 60s and from media from the time, it certainly seems like hysterical women were a real problem.
I'll let you sit on that.
I'm just going by what the media has told me.
Okay. Yeah. But
are you saying that I shouldn't believe what the media says?
Don't believe the media. The MSM, the mainstream media. But yeah, it is not a good episode. It is wildly sexist. The court martial in it it doesn't even follow the established court martial rules that they've made in Star Trek before, because Kirk's like, "I'll do it myself. Mm-hmm. I'm the ranking officer. What do you mean all my ranking officers are against me?" And all you've got there, the only person who supports Janice Lester in Kirk's body for a while is McCoy, who's like, "Yeah, I know he's acting differently, but I just can't believe that it's someone else in Kirk's body." And you're like,
"Yeah,
fucking hell.
Bones. Oh, Bones with your feelings."
You could just ask him a simple question to be like, "Oh, do you remember that time we went skiing when we were on this planet?" And he'd go like, "Yeah." And he'd be like, "We never went to that planet." That's all that you have to do, McCoy. you idiot, you fool, you bastard.
Yeah. I'm surprised, like, you know, by rights, from what we now know about younger Spock, in the episode of TOS that was written 50 years before the episode I'm referencing, Spock should have been like, listen, I've been mind swapped before. Yeah. I know what I'm looking at. Jim's been mind swapped.
I didn't even think of Spock-a-muck.
Yeah, he should have been like, listen, smells like a Freaky Friday type situation to me.
Yeah. I've been here. I've done this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even think of it. Body swap. It just happens, man. Body swap. It's a trope in science fiction, isn't it? So yeah. Had to be done. But yeah, how do you rate this? Is it guilty of being a good episode?
I would say that this is not guilty of being a good episode, and it and also on a secondary count, it is also guilty of being a bad episode.
Correct. I would agree very wholeheartedly.
One count of being a bad episode for sure.
Yes, yeah. Here's a question. Do you know what the next episode, because it nearly passed me by, that has any court scene at all?
Well, just for full disclosure, I've been going off a list of 15 courtroom episodes for my rewatch. But
I think it might have missed it, because it is very, very light.
There are 20. That's a lot. So are we still in TOS?
We are not in TOS.
So should we do oh wait, is there a TAS episode?
There's a TAS episode that has a very minor court case. And I rewatched it just to make sure, because it hasn't been that long since I watched TAS, but it has been it's not that memorable, really.
Okay, so what's let me just pull it up. What's the episode called?
It's called, I think it's The Magics of Megas 2.
That's such a good TAS episode title.
So while you're looking it up, the episode is about... It's the Salem witch trials episode.
Yes, you know, that's funny. I can't believe I totally forgot about that, because Salem witch trials come up in my notes about another episode.
Yeah. I mean, funny. It is very much like another episode that we'll go on to. There's one or two episodes that I've paired together, and we'll get onto that episode. But the Enterprise goes to the center of the galaxy, and instead of finding God there, they find a way through to a magic universe where magic exists, and they meet
the dark dimension.
They go to the dark dimension,
Dormammu,
and they meet the literal devil. The literal devil.
Again? What? Oh God!
Yeah.
God, there's so many devils. Fuck yeah, man! Hail Satan!
Yeah. And the devil is just playing around with them, teaching them how to use magic, and.
Yeah, because that's what Satan does. He wants to teach.
But this is a cool Satan.
That's why he got Adam and Eve to eat of the fruit of knowledge. The devil is all about knowledge and teaching and letting people explore.
Yeah. But what this Lucian, the devil, eventually gets captured, the same as the
satanic name. Good classic Lucian. Satanic name.
Yeah. And they're put in the Salem witch trials, because the last time the people of that planet, the alternate universe planet, were in our universe, they went to Earth and, started spreading their magic around, and did that for hundreds of years, thousands of years, whatever, and then started to get persecuted for it until the Salem witch trials, in which time, like, a load of them were hunted and killed, so they came back home.
Oh, so the Salem witch trials weren't just a case of groupthink and paranoia and gross miscarriages of justice and the victimization of women. They actually deserved it.
Well, not deserved it, but they were capturing literal, magic people. in the Salem witch trials. And they put
that just reminds me. There is a documentary. I'm not going to say it because I don't want people to watch it because like the guy doesn't need the views. But it's a documentary that was like put out by whoever, and it was about the Pendle Witch, and it kind of throughout it while telling the history of what actually happened. The documentary continually alludes to the possibility of the girl actually having been a witch, and it is like, oh mate, like you did so much research, but you didn't read any of it.
Yeah, didn't actually read up. Didn't read up on witches being real or not.
Yeah,
but the court case on Megas 2 settles up with Spock speaking in defense of Earth because he's not of Earth, really. I know he's half human, but he's not of Earth. Lucian saying he's got an affinity for humans. And the other Megas 2, the Megans, I think they're called. Bloody Megan.
Meg, shut up, Meg.
Release all the humans, but say we're going to imprison Lucian forever. So Kirk decides to stand up for and defend the devil. And then the Megans go, well, if you'll stand up and, all we wanted to prove, this was all a ruse to see if you defend Lucian. And we're cool with you now. Let's have some beer. And that's the episode.
Fuck yeah, man, because that's what Satan's all about. He's all about just like, hey, what's your deal? Let's have a drink. I was just messing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So weird.
It's a great episode.
Yeah.
I love that episode.
Yeah. Grading on a curve, I say it's guilty of being a good episode.
Yeah, I'd say it is guilty of being a good episode, 100%. It's I am though not a practicing Satanist. I am a member of the Satanic Temple. They do great work.
They do. They do. Fight for women's rights. They do a lot more than the Church of Christianity.
Absolutely. And that episode has been cited in satanic circles as being good satanic representation.
Power to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll get back to the devil very shortly.
Fuck yeah, we will.
Yeah. But we're on to Undiscovered Country now, aren't we?
Yes. Great.
Yeah.
We talked about the Undiscovered Country quite a bit a couple of weeks ago for Intoxicated Masculinity. Check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have this as your number 2 favorite TOS movie?
No, I had it as my number 1.
Same. Me too. Yeah. Me too.
Cool. It's a fantastic movie. It has got great real world parallels. It is, the fall of the Berlin Wall and the explosion at Chernobyl.
Yeah.
And then you see it in a Star Trek movie and it fits completely.
Yeah. It's a great film that kind of, it's a great Star Trek story that kind of captures a tone at the end of the Cold War. Quite well.
I do think it's incredible that you've took a real world story, you've took the explosion of Chernobyl and the falling of the Berlin Wall and kind of the dissolution of Soviet Russia. You've gone, how can we cram this into Star Trek? And you've gone like, Kirk hates the Russians, or hates Klingons, sorry, we'll make the Klingons Russians. And you go, okay, that fits. And then that's then connective tissue to TNG when you've already established that the Klingons are either in the Federation or in alliance with Federation, depending on how you view season 1 of TNG. And you're like, okay, that's a masterclass of just being like real world story, not too heavily crammed into the series, but makes it fit as a franchise as a whole.
Yeah, well, how do we get from where we are here to where they are there?
Yeah.
Well, if we're like this, then, if the Klingons are like the Russians, then like you say, we need to bring down that Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
And while we're bringing down that Berlin Wall, let's have a cheeky little Chernobyl.
Yeah.
And then we get to the court case, and they have a little bit of a cheeky Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
I love this courtroom scene. I love the use of translators. I love Christopher Plummer just chewing the fuck out of that scenery.
Yeah.
The courtroom itself is really fucking cool.
Yeah.
The
idea that it's just tall and people just
I'm
like
skipping
look
ahead a
down.
bit. So I've already started talking about it. I'll carry on.
Yeah. Everyone knows what happens in Undiscovered Country.
Kirk and Bones get pulled up, accused of the murder of Chancellor Gorkon, played by the late David Warner, and they are being accused by General Chang, played by the late Christopher Plummer. And
they're being defended by
Worf.
The great Michael Dorn as Colonel Worf.
Colonel Worf.
Yeah. So, or is he Colonel Worf or is he Colonel Mogg? I forget.
He's Worf. He's Mogg's dad.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. Chef kiss.
Yeah, man. I love Colonel Worf. I love that he is genuinely trying to defend Kirk.
Yeah. I get the feel, and the episode of Enterprise we didn't talk about Judgment. It establishes that there's a warrior class, but there's also like a teacher class of Klingons who presumably take honor in their kids getting good grades, and we have one of the Klingons defending Archer, who's played by Martok, whatever his name is,
J.G. Hartlaw.
Yeah,
Hertzlev. J.G. Hertzlev.
Yeah.
J.G. Hertzler. My handwriting is terrible.
Yeah. My memory's terrible. And he's finding like honor in pursuing the truth.
Yeah, well, in one...
and I get the spirit that Worf is the same, because defending humans probably doesn't get you that big a kudos, does it, really, in the Klingon Empire?
No, but like defending humans isn't, but defending honor. Like defending honor as a concept.
Yeah.
What could be more Klingon than that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah, I mentioned the Cuban Missile Crisis moment. There is a bit when Chang is going off, popping off, making wild swinging accusations around at Kirk, and Kirk is listening in on a translator. He's got his phone held up. He's like he's listening to the translation, and Chang's like, "Answer the question. Don't wait for the translation. Answer the question." And that is a direct reference to a trial after the Cuban Missile Crisis. An American ambassador, let me get his name right, Adlai Stevenson, while questioning Soviet ambassador Valerian Zorin,
which is a sci-fi name if there ever was one.
Definitely a villain.
Yeah.
He was asking him if the USSR was building Russian missile depots, nuclear missile depots in Cuba, and he was saying, "Don't wait for the translation. Answer the question." He's like, "I know you can understand what I'm saying. Stop waiting for the translation. Just answer the fucking question." And he lied. He said that they weren't, and
they clearly were.
Funny that.
Yeah.
Stevenson, after the guy said, "No, we're not building nuclear missile silos," he showed him pictures. He showed him aerial photographs of the missile silos being built, which was his. That was, and then Zorin was like, "Well, this is your Perry Mason moment. You clearly,
No. You're clearly good at law, like Perry Mason.
Yeah.
How is that supposed to work as a defense?
So, well, no, that was what. That was Alex
Jones. That's Alex Jones, but like, how is saying like that's your Perry Mason moment? Perry Mason was the good guy in that show.
Yeah, no, that was such a funny. Oh well, you've had your Perry Mason moment. It's just like, so that makes you like the bad guy in the episode.
It'd be like if you were a virus saying like, "Oh, you've had your Dr. House moment." Oh, you've had your Dr. House moment. Like, yeah, okay, thank you. I mean, cool. I always find it's weird with like the Klingons from Judgment, the episode we're not going to talk about anymore, and Undiscovered Country, their sentence is always like death. And for both the episode and the movie, like, but don't worry, we'll level up your death because you're, somewhat honorable people. We'll just make you die on dilithium mines of Rupa Pente.
Yeah.
And, that's all great. And then both of them are like, okay, you can present your evidence. And the evidence in both cases is really a he said, she said. Of the Undiscovered Country, they were wearing Federation spacesuit, and you were the captain of that vessel. So that means that you were responsible for them. So therefore you have to die.
Yeah.
And you can imagine McCoy standing behind him like,
I didn't do shit.
I didn't do shit. I'm not in command.
I tried to save him. He was the last best hope. I'm doing Alex Jones. He was the last best hope for peace in our time. But no, totally. The fuck?
Why McCoy is there? McCoy's just like,
but I am an employee.
Yeah. I get that you want to put Kirk up because one of his crew did
dick.
it. Well, and one of his crew did it, and you've got recordings of him saying, like, I'll never trust Klingons. I'll never forgive them for the death of my boy.
Yes, of course.
But there's no recording of McCoy being like, Klingons, if I ever have to try and like heal one, I'm just gonna put sawdust in there and say it'll be fine. That's fine. Yeah. That's all I do. There's no recording on McCoy, and he just gets the same sentence as Kirk.
Yeah, I did. Although they're probably just like, he's like, I tried to save him. It's just like, we looked at the tape, and you were just like punching him repeatedly in the chest.
Yeah.
So I don't know medicine, but I also suspect that you do not either.
Don't know medicine. Yeah.
But you mentioned, of course, General Chang's little Perry Mason moment.
Yeah.
When he reveals the tape, General Chang says, like, Kirk, whose voice is that?
I'll never forgive them for the death.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Did you know that 12 days ago, a member of your crew sent me this recording?
Yeah.
And it was not admitted into Discovery, whatever Discovery means in real life.
Yeah. They do have Discovery in one or two episodes of Trek.
They have Discovery in a few.
Yeah. I forget which episode it is. Maybe it'll come up in my notes where they say, and I'm going to bring up this evidence and this evidence and this evidence. And they go like, oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the other what we start to see as the series, as Star Trek goes on and it keeps doing courtroom episodes, we start to see better courtroom episodes, courtroom stuff. And we also start to see a bit of a theme in
you're going to be put to death.
Yeah, like these are just we see a lot of show trials.
Yeah.
A lot of alien species in Star Trek are meant to be allegories of the worst aspects of humanity.
Yeah.
And, sidestepping habeas corpus is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
So, we see a bit of a show trial here in the Undiscovered Country. Oh, what did you think of the Klingon judge with his spark ball?
I love that as a gavel.
Spark ball.
It's amazing. There's an episode of DS9 we'll get on to much later. And the old woman from Liar Liar, the Jim Carrey movie, also has a spark ball.
She does.
Is it
I
just
love
universal?
her. She's brilliant.
She's brilliant. But is it just universal that like courts universe-wide have gavels?
Well, I guess, but I mean, I don't know. Throughout Star Trek, we rarely see a gavel. We see bells and we see spark balls.
Bells and balls.
Bells and balls. Yeah.
Something to bang.
Banging bells and balls. That definitely sounds like the name of a play.
Yeah. There's got to be Rule 34 on like lawyers and gavels, surely.
Yeah, man. Upturned gavel. That could be a poll.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more like pop art.
I'm thinking of vibrating one.
Let's rule 34, more like pop art of like
Okay.
a pole dancer on a gavel.
Yeah. We can DALL-E AI that later.
Yeah, man. Oh,
Fit
yeah.
it here.
Oh, I did do some DALL-Es of courtroom sketches of various Star Trek characters.
Yeah.
Or not DALL-E, Cray AI.
Cray AI.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean,
DALL-E AI is easier to just spit out, isn't it? Really.
Shall we go to the next?
Well, we need to rate.
We need to rate this bitch.
Undiscovered Country. I think we know what we're going to rate it.
Yeah, Undiscovered Country. On one count of being a bad film, you are found not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And on one count of being a good film, guilty. Good courtroom scene. It mirrored a real life courtroom scene. I liked it. What about you? I'm guessing same finding.
Yeah. Egregious guilty on the how good it was.
You should be ashamed of how good you are.
Yes.
May fucking K-less have mercy on your souls for how good this film is.
Yes. Right. Let's do TNG though. We're straight on to TNG, aren't we?
Bloody TNG.
And this is my order on this one might be slightly out. So, are we Measure of a Man first?
Well, I mean, I guess we should probably start with Encounter at Farpoint.
Of course, yeah.
And because and then we could probably end the episode after because that's the only trial. Yeah. It's the only trial that ever exists.
Yeah.
It's a silly metaphorical trial.
Yeah,
but it's a good.
It is crammed in writing wise into an episode that has nothing to do with a trial.
Yeah, there's definitely an edit of Encounter at Farpoint that removes the courtroom case, but you would also be, removing a lot of Q, which is a disappointment. And to be honest, like I've already said, I like Encounter at Farpoint, and I like Q. Q's one of my favorite characters, and I like this. I like this ridiculous kangaroo court of the mind.
Well, it's a kangaroo court of the mind, but it's also a kangaroo court set after World War III, isn't it? They go back, and that's supposedly what court was after World War III. That you were so James Cromwell could have just gone to that sort of court, presumably.
Yeah. He'll have been in the stands going, "Yeah, fucking kill him."
Kill them all.
Let's all do drugs. They're all fucking off their tits.
Yeah. And as Picard says, something like it was a kangaroo court with quick harsh sentences. So we've got something to look forward to as millennials. After, during the climate crisis and the next war, we can have quick courts and quick sentences, and we can either be the ones flinging shit everywhere or
man. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people say the worst thing about court cases is just how long they drag.
Yeah, all that time to gather evidence. Who needs that when you can just have a judge on a floaty chair?
Oh God, can't we just sentence them to death?
Yeah. Do you think that floaty chair is it on a seesaw from the other side? Because humans didn't seem to have anti-grav technology back then.
That's a good point. Is that part of the court, or is that a Q embellishment?
Yeah, we don't know.
Is that yes, justice was swift and punishments were harsh, but the judges didn't dress like that. These are my clothes. Are those Q's clothes? Are those Q's clothes, or are they the courts? Is that the judges? Is that the 20? Is that the post World War III equivalent of the stupid powdered wigs?
I mean, it looks less stupid than the powdered wigs. I'll give it that.
Yeah, I think
it looks a bit badass compared to the powdered wigs.
Yeah, looks loud. It's got color.
Yeah.
Far less dour.
Yeah. I'm a fan. I don't know what we can say about the trial other than it's ongoing.
Yeah. I mean, it's so. Are we saying it's still going? What did what did Q say on the matter at the end of Picard? Did he say the trial never ends again?
I don't know. Aren't all the Q dead though after Delancey Q at the end of Picard? So if the trial is still ongoing, they're going to be waiting a long time till they hear back from the judge.
And they're like fifth dimensional beings. They live outside of time.
Yeah.
So like the trial has always
it's always
been going
and always been concluded and has always never started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Whoa, man.
Whoa.
Again, the Q should have met the prophets.
Yeah, man, the Q should have met the prophets. That would have been so cool.
Yeah. I think that the next one prophet is Measure of a Man.
Yeah.
Which is a big one, which is a big doozy of a court episode. So this is the Maddox comes to Data and says, oh, good, we're going to chop you up, and I'm going to try and make lots of little Datas by, I don't know how you work. I think I know how you work, but I'm going to need to chop you apart just to try and get an idea of how you work, and then maybe I'll put you back together. And Data obviously doesn't want that and says, well, I'm not going to submit to it. If you want me to do it, if the Federation want me to do it, I will withdraw from the Federation. And
Starfleet, he wouldn't revoke his Federation citizenship. He'll resign his commission from Starfleet because...
Well, we don't even know if he was a fucking citizen, mate. If he was just viewed as a toaster, is he a citizen?
Yeah.
Do they have citizen toasters?
Yeah.
But they say, oh, no, you can't resign because you're property. So it's an episode on human rights for things that aren't just humans, I suppose.
And it's a hearing, it's all to determine, and I suppose in a military organization they must have to have hearings like this if two officers disagree on a decision anyway. Like they would have to say, like, right, well, I'm protesting this. We're going to do this. Like, that's a thing that happens. And so this is just a case of like someone wanting to take some, at the start, I want to take a load of this equipment. And they're like, no, this is our equipment. You can't have it. It's like, well, if you don't like it, you can take it up with whatever. All right, then we'll take it up with whoever. And so this is the progression of that happening.
Yeah.
And in doing that, we open up the Pandora's box that is, what is consciousness?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a sentient being? I researched this episode quite a bit for a project for university about artificial intelligence as metaphor for monism and mind-body dualism and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of philosophical chin-stroking nonsense. Spoiler alert, we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they pose in this like, oh, would you let the Enterprise computer just choose to not have a refit? And at some points, they are like, the Enterprise is just getting refit. And the Enterprise has the power to make sentient beings, so presumably it has some level of sentience. I don't imagine something without sentience can imbue sentience on something else. So it's a weird one. And on more modern Star Trek, we've got Zora, a literal sentient ship computer. And in that they're saying, oh, can we just kill her? Can we just take her out of the ship?
Is deleting that part of her programming, does that count as killing her?
Yeah.
And also later on in TNG, the Enterprise itself does actually start showing signs of consciousness. They do drop that, and no one seems to mourn the passing of the Enterprise D in Generations. So I guess it didn't pan out, or no one checked back on them.
Yeah. This poor sentient being just smashed on a planet, and you go down there and kick the hull. It's like seeing a dead whale washed up on a beach.
Yep.
Yeah.
The whole thing of like, what's interesting about this isn't actually the legal aspect, and there's an episode of the YouTube channel Legal Eagle that you don't like.
I like Legal Eagle. I watch Legal Eagle. I think his take on this episode is very much set in a early 21st century mindset.
It is closed. It is a closed viewing. He talks about how it relates to constitutional law, and he does have some really good points to bring up.
Yeah.
But at one point in his video about Measure of a Man, he does talk about the discussions that are going on, which is, the important part of the episode, which is the discussion on consciousness and what classes as a sentient being.
Yeah.
Picard saying, is Data conscious? And the guy saying like, no. And he's like, right, well, prove to me that I'm conscious.
Yeah.
Star Trek, and he says it in the Legal Eagle video, he says he does not try to answer that question because that is a question for philosophers.
Yeah.
That is the same point that the judge takes later on in the episode.
Philippa Louveau or whatever. Yeah.
And because, one thing that Star Trek does very well is create thought experiments, there's people on a track. If you move the tram, it'll only run over one person, but if you move it back, there'll be 5 people. Okay, but if it turns out on one track there is one social worker, and on the other track there's 5 pedophiles. So what do you do now? Oh, okay. Well, now if you run over the 5 pedophiles, it sets off an explosive device that kills a load of children. What do you do now? It's all these examples of shifting paradigms, and the answer to a lot of these thought experiments usually is that there isn't really an answer. That's kind of the point to them. The point to them is to draw attention to the fact that strict modes of thinking and strict.
If you only go by the law,
you're
probably going to do a bad thing in the end.
Exactly.
Is this episode, isn't it?
Yeah. Things need to be open to not necessarily interpretation, but things need to have a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah.
Rules especially, and there are some pretty. We could spend all day listing examples of miscarriages of justice that, if you go by the book, well, that guy killed that guy. He goes to prison. Yeah, but that guy was, breaking all that guy's fingers and dogs and killing
fingers and dogs.
He was eating him.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he had to kill him in self-defense. Yes. But he asked him to eat him.
Yeah.
And so I'm paradigm shifting again. Sorry, I'm having a paradigm shift.
No, it's okay.
Excuse me, it's my time. It's my time of the month. I'm having these paradigm shifts.
It is far too warm, isn't it, really?
Yes.
I'll call out this episode for having some of my favorite Frakes acting. Because Frakes Riker has to have the opposing counsel and try and prove that Data is just a machine and has no rights. And the first bit of on-point acting is he's looking at the schematics of Data, and he comes across the off switch, and he's like, yes! And then he's like, shit. And it, perfect tour de force.
Happy face. Sad face.
Regretful, shameful face that he was even happy.
Yeah.
And then at the end, and it might only be on the extended version of the episode, I don't know, on the not cut for TV episode, Data goes to visit him and says, "Oh, you're not coming to my party because I'm still alive, by the way." And Riker's like, I can't go to that. I nearly killed you." Data goes, "Oh, but if you didn't take the opposing view, Philippa Louveau or whatever, the JAG officer, would have voted against me anyway."
JAG officer.
The JAG,
fucking
the JAG
total
officer.
JAG officer, if you know.
Yeah. Would have voted against me anyway, summarily. So you did something that hurt you by going against your principles to try and kill a friend, and it saved my life. He goes like, you helped me out. And Frakes does this smile, and it's that meme, where it's like, oh, it all starts with that smile from Skins.
That damn smile.
That damn smile.
That damn
I'm just like,
smile.
on point. Again, it's like easily one of my favorite Frakes. It's not a Frakes episode, but it's one of my favorite Frakes episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's definitely one of my favorite. It's funny because it's a Data episode.
Yeah.
But for me, it's one of my favorite Picard episodes. He's got there's some great fucking Patrick Stewart acting. The bit where he's like, Starfleet was created to seek out new life. Well, there it sits.
Yeah.
It's explosive Shakespearean acting.
And that scene with Guinan as well.
From Patrick Stewart, yeah.
Which is real early. It's one of the first times we see Guinan. Because, we're still in first season or whatever, first or second season. And Guinan, he just has a discussion. It's like, oh, no. He'll be real valuable. He'll be a nice disposable person. And Picard's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Wait, you're talking about... I think it's pronounced slavery.
Yeah.
That was a bit ham-fisted, in my opinion.
It's a bit ham-fisted.
Slavery, whereas really that should be in the forefront of your mind, the second it's even mentioned. Just like, yes, I'm going to try and take Data apart and rebuild him. So, what is he, a fucking slave? That should have been like.
I never got the argument. When Data sits in Picard's ready room and gets Picard to realize that he wants to defend Data, and he says, oh, Geordie's eyes are better than your eyes. Why don't you have your eyes taken out and filled with Geordie's eyes? And I'm like, that's not a great argument, though, Data.
Yeah, no, it's yeah.
I get that you're trying to argument from do an argument from personhood.
That's definitely a point to be made, but I definitely wouldn't lead with that one.
Yeah.
I should maybe just lead with, how would you like it if someone wanted to come and take you apart and put you back together?
Yeah. If someone said, 5 people were dying around you, so we'll just open up Picard and strip out his organs and give them to these people.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, well, that's, and that's another good point. There is the conversation of bodily autonomy.
Yeah.
Which is, common at the minute. We've definitely talked about it. Yeah.
Do we have anything else to say on Measure of Man, though? As Ethan was saying, Legal Eagle, it's a good video to watch.
Yeah, great video. And just in terms of the actual legal resolution of this court case, I think is fair. The Jag-off says, I'm not a philosopher. I don't know that Data has a soul. I don't know that I do. And I don't know that I have a soul. I don't know that Data has a soul. I don't know that the Jag-off does. I don't know that just because Data doesn't have emotions, I don't know that that's not just a different form of consciousness.
Yeah.
The positronic brain, as proposed by Isaac Asimov, is just it's not human consciousness. It's a positronic consciousness. It's just a different form of consciousness, but that doesn't make it any less valid.
Considering maybe by this point in TNG, they go past the salt that has a brain, or the salt brain. Do you remember that episode where there's a miner and they lock it in a room and it's affected by light, so it's just like a glowing light bulb? and they're like, "Oh no, this is silicon-based life."
Yeah, the silicon-based life form.
The silicon-based life form, and then they're like so surprised when Data wants to be classed as a life form. It's like silicon, positronic, same difference.
Well, I mean, like, this little crumb of silicon and this giant weird roaming crystal is one thing, but this person, I don't know.
He's clearly got some autonomy.
Yeah, like, this person that has an ex-girlfriend and a bag full of stuff and friends and
that's another thing I'll say on this episode. Riker, in his proving that Data is a machine, is just like, bend this piece of metal. And Picard goes like, what are you talking about? Like, lots of creatures have like high strength. And the JAG officer is just like, no, I'm interested. I think she was just interested in seeing the metal being bent.
Yeah, do it again.
Yeah.
Do this. Like, please, that passive stuff. Bend this.
Yeah.
Cool. Can you carry that? Can you pick that up?
Yeah.
Cool.
Because what does it apply to the case at all? It's just like, you can bend stuff. You give a paperclip to me and I could bend it. It doesn't mean that
objection. This is irrelevant. Yeah, but it's pretty cool though. So
look at him
keep going.
Look at him go.
Yeah.
Fucking weird fucking case.
What do you think about the actual legal proceeding? Does it seem does that seem like a fair trial? Fair findings and everything.
I think because it's early TNG and the TOS ones, I think it mirrors what a military court would be to some degree fairly well. Having a JAG officer do it, having like two high officers being the prosecution and the defense. The actual legal arguments, I think, are pretty shocking. Up to Picard's like, is this guy sentient? He's enough sentient to call question to it. So do you really want to set a precedent? Then, we might be killing lots of sentient beings. And you're like, I think a lot of the other arguments, like I say, where it's like, oh, bend this. Look, I can turn this guy off. Yeah, if you stabbed a guy with like a human with sedative, he'd fall asleep. It doesn't mean like he's not human. Just because he's got an off button.
Like what is a human to you? A person who gets up and does things? Well, this man is unconscious.
Yeah.
So
let's pull the plug. Let's take his own.
Let's pull the fucking plug. Let's stop wasting everybody's time.
Yeah. Pack up shit, go home. Yeah. And Maddox arguing like, oh, I don't care about Data's rights. What about my right to work happily? And it's like, what are you on about, mate? What are you talking about?
Yeah, right. Like, what about my right to get my own way? I'm an only child.
Yeah. What about my right to just do what I want to do? Why can't I just run around this station shooting a gun?
That guy is such a fucking only child.
Yeah.
Clearly didn't have brothers or sisters. What a fucking little prick.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad he died.
I'm glad his girlfriend killed him in fucking Picard.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's, obviously an amazing episode. So guilty of being an amazing episode.
Iconic, yep. Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely guilty of being a good episode. 2 counts.
2 counts.
Yeah, 2
good
counts
episode.
Of guilty of being a good episode, yeah.
Yeah.
You are sentenced to being a legend.
Yeah, living in infamy.
Yeah.
Now I've got
the rest of your life.
For the rest of the life. Now I've got next on mine. Either Devil's Due or Matter of Perspective, and I don't know which order they're supposed to come.
Which one's Matter of Perspective? Because I don't think I watched that one.
It is the one where Riker's held up for supposedly blowing up a station.
I did not rewatch that one.
Right, let's do that one anyway, because I can link it to the previous one.
Because, I can't remember, I can't recall that off the top of my head.
So
there are 1,000 episodes of Star Trek.
There are far too many, and I suppose we'll have to start moving quicker at some point, but never mind.
Yeah.
We've done big ones so far. So in Measure of Man, the station that they're on is just regular one, isn't it? It's just under a different name. It's the same model.
Mm-hmm.
So in Matter of Perspective, they're on regular one again, but it's got a different name again. So we're on the same.
Did they flip it upside down?
They didn't even flip it upside down. It's the same fucking station.
Lame. Should have flipped it upside down.
Yeah. Riker's over there talking to this scientist bloke who's played by Hector Salamanca from Breaking Bad. You know, the wheelchair guy from Breaking Bad?
All right, okay.
Wait.
Keep going.
Yeah, he's saying, Riker beams back over from this station, and then the station blows up. And Riker's like, what the fuck happened? And they're like,
it wasn't me. It's coming back to you now. Yeah.
Then the Tanugans, or whoever, which is this race of people, this planet, are saying, no, you're proven guilty until you're guilty until proven innocent. And we've got suspicion that because Riker was supposedly hooking up with his wife, that you're guilty. So you need to prove your innocence, Riker. So the whole episode goes in the holodeck, and they're watching Riker's version of events, and they're watching the wife's version of events, and then they're watching what they reckon actually happened by the logs, and then his assistant's record of events. So it's a Rashomon story of people having different recollections of stuff.
Yeah, and it's a good episode. It's a good episode.
It's a good episode.
I definitely should. Yeah. I definitely would have rather rewatched that episode than fucking Judgment.
Yeah, or Court Martial.
Yeah, that's for true.
Yeah, but I've called this episode, if not Rashomon, I've called this the green screen the episode, because it's constantly like Riker standing up in front of a hologram of Riker, so everything is green screen in this episode.
Yeah, a lot of the holodeck going on and off effect.
Yeah. And the only thing I have on this episode, other than it's interesting, the guilty, and then you've got to be proven innocence, is Troy is a fucking useless person in this episode, because you've got this person who can, at least, she's an empath, so she should be able to read emotions, and they've got her in the courtroom, and they turn to her, once or twice and say, like, is this person who said that Riker was bedding the woman rather than her coming on to him, is she lying? And Troy goes, no, she thinks she's telling the truth. And you go like,
dude.
Even Riker says, we can't both be telling the truth. Do me a favor and which one of us was telling more of the truth? And Troy's man, I'm just spaced out.
Something. Give me something.
Yeah.
It's no wonder that they're fine with playing poker with her. Yeah. So they're like, you play poker with a Betazoid? It's like, oh no, don't worry, she fucking sucks.
She's useless.
Don't worry.
We literally have to write stories where she's gets a headache just so she can't help.
Yeah, so long as you don't show her your cards, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So other than, the guilty until proven innocent, and this is the exact same story near enough as an episode we might touch on in Voyager.
Yeah.
The exact same story.
Yeah, they do a few of these throughout Star Trek.
Well, they do a lot of people have different recollections where you beam over to a station and then you may or may not be bedding someone's wife.
Yeah.
It's just okay, that was me again.
It also mirrors the different retellings of the same event that they also did to a much God, Judgment sucks.
Not a fan of Judgment.
No, man, it's so bad.
Yeah.
No wonder they got fucking Hertzler to be the fucking Klingon lawyer in that. It was like, if we don't get something good about this episode, it's just going to be terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, let's move on then, because that's not a good episode.
I didn't rewatch that episode, so I moved for a mistrial.
Move for a mistrial from yourself. I'll say that it's a good episode.
Yeah, in my heart, I know it's a good episode, but I haven't reviewed the evidence.
Yeah.
And that's how you prove That's how you don't. That's how you prove a claim. You don't start with guilty before innocent.
One other thing I will say, since we're talking about the evidence of it, is they eventually prove that it wasn't Riker who blew up the station. It was because they've made this facsimile of the station so good on the holodeck, it's actually picking up signals from outside the ship that would have gone to the starbase. And they're like, oh, look, it's tearing apart the ship, just like the starbase got tore apart. And you're like, what are you talking about? Everything in the holodeck is just like, it's fake. It's, force fields and photons. It's not like a real machine doing shit.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, it's doing such a good recreation. It's such a good simulation. I don't know that we've ever not been in the situation.
Yeah.
What if reality is just one big simulation?
If you had a holodeck, they should be doing this all the time for courts,
yeah, people freaking out that it's fine, we're on the holodeck.
No, just programming, be like, let me tell my story of events and I'll do it using a holodeck. Because if you're trying to convince the judges, that is like so better. If you're convinced the judges of a jury or anything like that, you can be like, look, this is exactly how it happened. I'll program it in. That's going to make the juries like swing to you more than just telling it.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, Riker doesn't need any help getting people to swing for him. Hello. Secondly, that's not where my mind was going at all. Like, this is just, how in a world where there are holodecks, are there not more people freaking out thinking that they're still on the holodeck?
Yeah. Do we only do one episode of that in Star Trek total?
Has there been an episode where someone thinks they're on the holodeck, but they're not? There's the one where there's the second Moriarty episode where he creates a big simulation of the ship.
In that case, too. Yeah.
So, but they've never done an episode where someone thinks they're in a simulation, but they're not.
They kind of have. They've done one where the first Reg Barclay episode of Voyager, he's there making he's not actually there, but he's telling the doctor that he's actually Louis Zimmerman, and so the doctor thinks that he's possibly stuck in a hologram when he isn't. Do you like the gag? I thought yesterday I could have done like this whole episode in a suit. I thought that's a good idea, and then today I forgot because it's 30-something degrees and it's far too hot to put on a full suit. So just to make it more, this is
court appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indochino.
Yeah, man. Like fucking promo codes and discount codes in the fucking underpants bar and all that.
Yeah. No. It's still too hot for this at the moment, to be fair.
No, man, but I'll tell you what, if I was wearing a suit, I would have a nice soft pocket square to wipe my brow with, which would be nice.
Because at the
nice
moment,
soft pocket square.
Oh. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think we had anything to say on matter of perspective because it's balls.
Which one's matter of perspective again?
That one we were just talking about, the green screen, the episode. Then is it Devil's Due? Maybe
Devil's Due. Yeah, let's do Devil's Due.
Let's do Devil's Due. So Devil's Due is they get to a planet that's earthquaking around and people are hysterical because they think the devil's come back to collect on a contract, which was 1,000-year Reich of prosperity for this planet, and now things are going to shit.
That would be nice.
Not the 1,000-year Reich. Let's be cute.
No,
let's be sure. But 1,000 years of niceness.
1,000 years of frolics and rainbows would be sweet.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have had 1,000 years of frolics and sunshine before the world falling apart, but unfortunately, we didn't get that.
Well, you can kind of understand. I was watching it today or yesterday, and you can understand if their planet was going to hell in a handbasket and they were like, oh, there's 50 years left, there's 100 years left, why you would potentially sign up for, well, 1,000 years is better than 100 years, isn't it?
Yeah, but we didn't get 1,000 years. We got
didn't.
the end bit.
Yeah.
We just got the Judgment Day bit.
Yeah. So it's Adra is the devil.
Adra,
Adra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, look, coming into the ring. That's Satan's music. It's Satan back. Satan's back. That's me doing JR from WWE.
And of course, Picard doesn't say. No, I've seen historical records. They were cartoon, but a crew of the Enterprise met the devil, and he seemed to be like a really cool dude. And we had beers, or they had beer, and it was cool. It's like, oh no, like they might be the devil. Yeah. So it's a contract law episode, really, rather than a court martial or anything like that.
Yeah, it's whether or not the proposed contract, the proposed deal with the devil that these people made, whether or not the contract is valid, which it's such a dry concept.
Yeah.
That is just made exciting entirely by being set in space and featuring the devil.
The devil.
One of my favorite depictions of the devil.
Was a hot woman.
As a hot woman, yes.
It's like Bedazzled, but a couple of years early, isn't it?
Yeah, but to be honest, Bedazzled is gross. I don't like that depiction. Like, to quote Jean-Luc Picard from this episode, I find her obvious and off-putting. Adra in this episode, on the other hand, I do not find obvious and off-putting. I find her empowered and feisty.
Not particularly that version of the devil, but I like Liz Hurley. So
Liz Hurley's great, but that version of the devil is obvious and off-putting.
Yeah. But this is another episode where Troy, in her great stead, is fucking useless because Picard asks her, "Oh, can you read Adra's mind?" And Troy goes, "Don't know. She's got a real strong mind. I can't read it." And you go, is there anyone's mind that you could read? Do you just work with children? What do you do?
Immediately, I know that Adra is not the devil. Then, if Troy can't read her mind, because just being the slightest bit telepathic, from what I know about demonic beings. She should have been, the second Adra appeared, she should have been chanting in a demonic language with her eyes rolled back into her head the whole time. Like in fucking Cthulhu, in Cthulhu mythos, she should have just been release me.
Started levitating.
Me. Yeah. The whole time.
But no, Troy, useless again.
Yep.
Just say she's away. For all these missions where you're like, oh, Troy, can you do something? And she goes, no. Just say that you're away. You know, have her be on a shuttle somewhere else. It's fine.
No, just don't have her so central to the operation of intense, operations.
Yeah.
By just being like, I'll tell you what, why don't you go over there and if you feel something, let us know.
Yeah. Rather than just your usual standing on the bridge and when there's a Klingon shouting at you saying, he feels angry, sir.
He's definitely pissed off.
He's hiding something. And you go like...
Yeah, the guy's like...
Yeah. How everyone doesn't, everyone in that bridge doesn't turn their seats around, look at Troy and just shrug anytime someone goes or she says, oh, I think he's hiding something.
Yeah. Oh, look.
What are you talking about?
I'm sensing he's got something up his shirt.
Yeah.
And they're just like, thanks, Deanna.
Good work. Such a poorly written character.
Yeah,
such a poorly written character.
Definitely wasted.
And it's hard to write TV if you've got someone who can read emotions in your core cast. to have adversaries. But at the same time, you wrote yourself into that position.
I don't think it is a difficult thing to write around. I just think that they didn't do it well enough. Like, we've experienced telepathic characters in science fiction, TV, and film for fucking however long. There's comic books all about telepaths from here to Timbuktu. Like, it can be done well. You just have to do it well.
Yeah. Yeah. Writer, so she's got an energy bar that appears on screen anytime she tries to do psychic shit. And you can see it wear down quicker if the opponent has like a strong mind.
Yeah. Or write scenarios that aren't completely derailed by someone being able to read a person's mind.
Yeah. And maybe if you're going to write her an episode, try and write her one where she's not mind raped.
Yeah.
If you can, writers at the time.
Oh, but it's juicy.
We can have sex, but not actually put sex on screen. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. And why doesn't she get more of her tits out? Fucking producers at the time.
Just gotta bring that neckline down. It's fine. Bring it down.
I want it all the way at her toes.
What episode are we talking about? Devil's Due.
Devil's Due. Yeah.
Devil's Due. I have a ship named Devil's Due on Star Trek Online.
Online. Okay.
Yeah. It's one of my Romulan ships.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah. Do I have anything else on the episode?
So they don't rule. So so it's not a case of the ruling doesn't come at a case of like, superior morality or anything.
No.
It's not a case of proving that Adra is wrong ethically.
Yeah.
Or even disproving. Well, it does come to the point of disproving that Adra is not the particular devil from this story.
Yeah.
That she's just a shyster. But it's not about disproving the devil or disproving the supernatural. It's just the actual ruling.
Picard tries down that line. Yeah.
He does, yeah. He does.
Picard's saying, well, you went into 1,000 year of good times then. What did the devil do to help you? Did he plow the fields? And you're like, no, we invented new things to plow the fields. And he was like, okay. Did he set up your legal system for you? Like, no, we kind of did that ourselves. Like, okay, so what did this devil do? And the argument against is like, well, I could have just influenced them. I put thoughts into people's minds to make
it was the Holy Spirit. Yeah, it was the Holy Spirit. It's like when a doctor saves someone's life, and they all go, the family go, oh, thank God. Thank you, Jesus. And the doctor's there like, yeah,
cool.
Thanks, Jesus.
Yeah. Well, worth medical school. How many years medical school did Jesus have to pay for?
He paid for our sins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sound. Well, I'll tell you what, if I crucify Jesus again, does that forgive my student loans?
If only, man. If only. Yeah. So I don't think it's that good. And it does illustrate, you can't win against people invoking the occult into their arguments by arguing against the occult.
No, you can't. Hence why that documentary about the Salem witch trials was fucked, about the Pendle witch trial was fucked, because the guy was trying to justify the fact that it happened by, well, she might have been a witch.
Yeah.
No. And it's why one of some of the weaker arguments against theism are when people attack a Christian's argument by drawing attention to the gross immorality of the Christian God as portrayed within the Bible. That's not a great argument.
Yeah. Because he had reasons outside of your,
because like no matter what you draw attention to in that argument, someone who's already had the cognitive dissonance to make those two opposing facts fit into their brain is just going to reason the way out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's cool having Data as the judge of it. I'll say that.
yeah.
Who they just throw all the law books for that planet at him and say, like, read up. You can be judge. You're going to be impartial. And he's like, okay.
I
And he
will do
stamps
this.
down Picard the same way he stamps down Ardra.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. None.
Rulings.
Guilty of being a bad episode, I would say. I'm not a fan of this Devil's Due.
I'll say this. I don't think it's a great episode, but I do love Satan, and I do love sexy Satan ladies. So I will find this episode not guilty on 2 counts of being a bad episode.
Okay.
So yeah, not guilty of being 2 counts of
not being
right. I find this episode on 2 counts. Oh God, maybe practicing law is difficult. Just remember, or maybe this grading system that we developed on the fly is actually quite confusing.
No, it's so easy.
2 counts, right? I remember now. On 2 counts of being a bad episode, I find Devil's Due not guilty.
There we go.
That's what I wanted to say. Cut out me getting it wrong, please.
No, I'll keep it all.
Oh, no.
How about next episode then? Again, my TNG ones might be out of order, but Sins of the Father. So this is Kern Klingon stuff.
Great.
Yeah.
I loved this episode. We meet Kern. Kern comes back a few times. Kern's fun.
Toby Todd, fantastic actor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The whole we get a return of the whole the officer exchange program that Starfleet has with the KDF. Cool, interesting element. And then we get like this council proceeding going on the Klingon homeworld. And we get a little window into how that all goes down. And I thoroughly enjoy it. Picard takes over from Tony Todd as Worf's Chadich to defend him. What is the actual, like? I always forget, like, what the actual. I get so like wrapped up in the scene to scene stuff. What is the actual case? What is the case?
So the case is, and I did have to check this up myself because I made a spreadsheet of what cases.
I watched this episode yesterday.
Yeah. So the case is that there's been evidence found that Worf and Kern's father, sent the message to the Romulan forces who attacked the base that they were on, the planet they were on. So he's a traitor to the Empire, and therefore, because it's a familial structure, you're the son of Moke or something like that. It's the sins of the father are passed to the sons. So
that's the name of the episode.
That's the name of the episode. So if your dad was a traitor, your whole family line are traitors. So Worf's going there to prove that he's not a traitor. And if he fails, he could die. Dun, dun, dun.
So extreme.
Yeah.
What is this? Starfleet 50 years prior?
Yeah. So it's all in front of the Chancellor again, Mpec or Kempec.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's the same dude. I thought he was supposed to be the same character, but he's not.
No.
As Final Frontier. I just thought he was a real long-living Klingon. But
no, different guy.
Different dude.
For years, I thought that was James Doohan.
Really?
Yeah, for years. It's not.
No.
He just kind of looks like him. Kind of sounds like him in that episode. And Jean-Luc as Chadich.
Chadich.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, I'm your Chadich.
Hey, I'm your Chadich.
Hey, I'm your Chadich, baby. Hey, who's your Chadich, baby?
Who's your Chadich?
Yeah, I like the whole thing of, like, as Worf's Chadich, Picard suddenly is in a position where he's taking orders from Worf, which is interesting, and seems to have no adjustment period. Just kind of gets straight into it.
He's also fighting off Klingons. He's like fist fighting 2 Klingons at a time.
Yeah, like from the moment. So before, I've only got 2 things written in my notes, and they're all about Jean-Luc's conduct in this episode. So when Worf goes down with Kern as his Chardich the first time round, Picard and Riker both go down with them. And the second they're like, yes, but my captain will attest to the stuff that I've said here. And they're like, is the captain here? Do you agree with what's being said in this statement? And immediately Jean-Luc's just like, I agree with everything being said. Like he knows how to conduct himself in a Klingon court of law by fucking yelling in everyone's faces, just like everyone else is. And Riker's like, what the fuck?
I am here at my own request. I am Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Enterprise.
Why are you yelling? Why is everybody yelling? I fucking love that. And then like when Worf is like, will you be my Chardich? He's immediately like, yes. And from that moment, he is like there in that office, he is committed to himself and is fully prepared to get into a knife fight.
Oh yeah.
He
goes investigating for crimes and stuff like that. They pull up an eyewitness to the account, and bring her back. And the Chancellor is like Kempek. So I always thought like he sounds a bit too much like MPEG to me. It's like some sort of video encoding format. Kempek is like, no, let's have a sidebar. I don't want this witness in front of the real court. I'm like, no, you kind of have to hear witnesses in court.
Yeah,
that's part of court, man. That doesn't seem very honourable.
Yeah, but we're kind of up to something. So
he's just like, I was kind of trying to spare like a prominent house, the Duras, while shitting on a house that wasn't really part of the Empire anymore, like your house.
It is some Game of Thrones nonsense going on. It's a completely different like procedure going on as well. There's no spark ball.
No, and it's in a completely different room as well.
Yeah, that's why I don't think that this is like I think that maybe like there's a different, like it's feudalism in it, so there's maybe like a different court system for the great houses than there would be for just in a criminal court.
I haven't got this down on my notes because it's not really a court episode. I suppose it is, but the DS9 episode, Quark, the House of Quark, it's the same sort of room. It's having an in-house dispute, isn't it, really, between who inherits the wealth of this house because Quark has killed a Klingon somehow. It's in the same sort of room where it's just a guy on a chair being like, no, present your evidence.
God damn it, I didn't watch that one either. I love the House of Quark. How did I forget?
I didn't watch it. I've only just reminded.
God damn that list being on 2 pages.
Yeah. Fucking court episodes, man.
God, there's so many.
Yeah.
So the other thing I have written is, as much as I love this episode, and I do love this episode, it is an episode of worsts. I've got 3 things written here. Worst TV slap I have ever seen. When Duras slaps Worf, it is terrible. He just he slaps him, and Worf kind of goes like, it's not even like that. He goes like with his whole upper body.
Yeah.
It has the worst Kapla
Yeah.
by Kempek. He goes, Kapla.
Yeah.
And it has the worst ADR I have ever seen. When Worf
There's
walks
some
into the
fucking
court
battles.
and he says, I am Worf, son of Moog. All the shots from that angle looking up at him are ADR'd.
Yeah.
And like visually it looks so good, but the ADR is so bad. And like it doesn't match. There are different parts of the scene where Worf sounds different. So like within the scene, the audio, Worf's audio changes to this bad ADR. And it's all quite clearly because when Worf walks in and says, I am Worf, son of Moog, he says, I am Worf, son of Mog.
Yeah.
Which sounds okay coming from you or me, but with an American accent, that turns Moog into Mog.
Yeah.
And that is what he's saying. I am Worf, son of Mog.
Yeah.
Which is not his name. And so like you can see that they had to change all of the dialogue in that one shot.
All of the Mog stuff.
Just because of him saying Mog.
Yeah. Anyway, do we want to vote on Sins of the Father? Is it guilty of being a bad episode?
Before we do the ruling, I want to discuss the ruling itself.
Yeah.
So Worf obviously he accepts discommendation in lieu of execution,
as you would.
Which was Kempek's. Yeah, as we would, but to a
Yeah.
Klingon warrior, no way. But that was kind of Kempek's plan all along. He's what I like to see in a lot of older warrior races in Star Trek and stuff, which is people who are just kind of a bit sick of all the killing.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we are Klingon warriors. And yes, I've killed many men myself. But after a while, it gets kind of old. And like, I knew your dad. And I knew his dad. And I saw you two running around. And I was like, oh, you little shits. I fucking hate kids. But then now you're all grown up. And I don't want you to die.
Yeah. So Worf's willing to bite the bullet and have discommendation as long as Kern under a different name can live. And he does this. It's a Worf staple because he does it later on twice, I think.
Yeah. Yep. He accepts discommendation, and then in DS9, he has his lands revoked or something. Like,
well, I'm trying to remember what happens to Kern, but I think Kern gets his mind wiped, doesn't he? And just lives with someone else.
Because the House of Moog was whatever. Like I say, Worf had his lands taken away from him or whatever.
Yeah.
Worf has lands, which was like on my rewatch of that DS9 episode, I was like, wait, Worf has lands?
Yeah.
Whatever.
And then Alexander has to go by a different name as well. So all Worf's family is just like different names to avoid, being killed or whatever.
To avoid being associated with Worf.
Yeah. He's traitor to his race, apparently. I do love the speaking of the actual thing, how they show they've discommendated him. It's just doing like So, yeah. Do you rate it guilty of being a good episode?
I rate it guilty on one count of being a good episode, and also, because like I say, worst ADR, worst TV slap, worst Kapla, I'm also going to have to find it guilty on one count of being a bad episode.
Okay. Yeah. I'd put it as middling as well, but I'll say it's guilty of being a good episode. I'll be kind to it. What about Drumhead?
Drumhead. Let's definitely do Drumhead. Now,
Yeah.
I will try and refrain from gushing, but I fucking love this episode. This is one of my favorite episodes of all of Star Trek.
Yeah.
You've got it. The whole episode is literally just the court proceeding and some investigation going on. But this is the episode where I mentioned earlier where I wanted to bring up the fucking Salem witch trials, because this episode is it's a show court, but like it's a fucking witch hunt. The plot of the episode, to sum it up as quickly as I can, a Klingon scientist is caught doing some dodgy shit, and you find out that he's secretly a Romulan spy. To kind of get to the bottom of just how bad the problem is with this Romulan spy on the Enterprise, they bring in this fucking person who's she's horrible. Sati, they call her.
I've got in my notes as Admiral Boomer. For reasons I'll get onto. But
Admiral Putnam. I'll for reasons I'll get into. Admiral Putnam.
Yeah.
She comes in to root out the depth of the issue, and basically just starts seeing fucking demons everywhere. Starts suspicion. She starts being suspicious of everyone, levying suspicion on anyone.
Yeah.
Eventually, she cottons on to this one medical technician who is a quarter Vulcan on his record, and then later finds out that he's actually a quarter Romulan. So immediately he gets wrapped up into what Admiral Sati is calling a conspiracy.
Yeah. Because the one thing I think you might have missed was the warp core slightly blew up.
Yeah, the warp core nearly killed everyone.
And they say, well, it can't just be a coincidence that this happened with this Klingon guy on board.
Yeah, this guy couldn't have done that all on his own.
Yeah, it must be a grand conspiracy with, lots of people on the Enterprise helping him out.
Yeah. And so like this, this kid is immediately, Simon Tarsis is immediately, guilty before being proven innocent.
Yeah.
Like Worf says, we know that the Federation has enemies and it's our duty to root them out. And Picard is, yes, but going around waving blind suspicion and rampant paranoia around is not the way to go about doing that. And it leads to one of my next tattoos that I want to get. Definitely my next Star Trek tattoo.
Yeah.
Which, if I ever get a quote, if I ever get script tattoos, aside from the Klingon script I already have, it leads to a great Jean-Luc Picard speech. With the first link, the chain is forged. The first speech censored, the first thought forbidden, the first freedom denied, chains us all irrevocably. And that's a quote by Admiral fucking Dickface's granddad or dad or whatever.
Part of the reason why I call her Boomer.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful statement, and it's a truth that I believe. I do. When you look at injustices around the world, you think, well, how long before that, taking away that freedom becomes taking away my freedom? It's like the poem. First they came for the fucking farmers, then they came for the gift shop workers, then they came for the baristas.
Not the gift shop workers.
And then they came for the fucking vets. And then when they came for me, there was no one around to help me.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful episode.
Yeah. So in my notes, I did a couple where I tried to put out real world parallels. And apparently, because we're not in the US, if you can't tell by our voices, I'm sorry to break it to you. We'll never meet you if you're in the US. But there's the right to liberty and security, which is the right to or protection from unreasonable detention and suspicion. So that the state can't go around being like, or shouldn't be going around being like, okay, no, what have you done for the last year? Let's have you prove to me that you're not a bad guy to everyone in this, in the country, which is pretty much what they're doing in this episode, isn't it? They're going like, no, we'll invite everyone in here. And what do you mean you had a grandfather that was Romulan? What do you mean you talked to the Klingon guy at a party once? What do you mean you did this? Explain yourself.
Yeah,
and the Beta Z guy like cottons onto Worf immediately, and he's like, because he's a useful Betazoid rather than Deanna, who's not in the episode, of course.
Yeah, he knows how to Betazoid.
Yeah, he cottons onto Worf, and he's just like, "No, Worf, you're here to like stomp out evil. You're doing good. With your help, we'll find all the bad doers who are doing wrong to the Federation." And then the second Worf turns on them later on. Admiral Sati and the Beta Z guy is just like, well, maybe it's you, Worf. Why weren't you securing the Enterprise?
Well, this is it. This is why it's just the Salem witch trials. That's why she's little Ann Putnam. There is currently last podcast on the left are currently they've just put out episode 2 of a 3-part series on the Salem witch trials, which I highly recommend everyone checking out. But yeah, the Salem witch trials was basically that. It's just a bunch of people making wild accusations. They were all secluded and they were all going fucking mental. And then an official comes in and is like, right, well then, let's find these fucking witches. Yeah. And so people just start blindly pointing fingers. And then whenever anyone says, maybe these little girls are all just fucking losing their minds and they're all just kind of making all this shit up, they're all just like, I saw you talking to the devil. Like, yeah. And then you've got Admiral Sati, who is basically just Ann Putnam mixed with fucking whatever his fucking name was, the witch finder they brought in. Where she is literally just like, you can just picture her. It's the way she speaks and it's the way she says, well, maybe I saw you consorting with the traitor. Like,
yeah, and they proved to her like that, oh no, the warp core just blew up because it had a bad part in it. And then at the next court case, she's just like, you worked with chemicals that were also found on the warp core that made it blow up, didn't you? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, woman? What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Liz? Like, you're just making shit up now.
Yeah, man. Like, Picard kind of stomachs a lot of her nonsense until she starts pulling that move on Crusher when she's like, but weren't you seen talking to the devil?
Yeah.
And then Picard's just like, okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing here. Enough of this. Like, okay, you're starting to do the thing on the girl I fancy now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I've got her listed in my notes as well as Admiral Boomer because she got in there probably through or possibly through nepotism because her father was a lawyer. She's got into the family trade and
bullshit
and stayed in there for her whole life. She has absolutely no understanding of the technology that she's ruling on, which, hello, every court system in the world where you get 90-year-olds.
Literally.
Can you tell me how many gigabytes your company owns?
Yeah. Yes, how many gigabytes? And so if I wanted
Facebook's
to say,
free. How do I make money if Facebook's free?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go up to the search bar and type google.com to get to the search engine. Okay.
She's just boomer extreme. She is classic, like, 90-year-old who shouldn't be making laws or voting on, like, anything. that involves any sort of technology. She's like, "Is this the warp core?" And Geordie's like, "This one here, yes." Like, okay.
Is this the warp core? That is the water fountain.
Yeah. Oh,
it's very nice.
Yeah. I used to have a man who looked like you who drive me around. Yeah.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah. And then she just flips a fucking switch. She's just like, no, how dare you invoke my grandfather?
Dude, that freak out at the end is pretty fucking spectacular, to be fair. Like, that is just like, it's just like watching everyone in the room go, oh, I see what's been going on for the past week.
Yeah.
Like, this bitch has flipped her fucking lid.
Yeah.
She keeps like, early on in the episode, she's like, I've been on duty for 7 years.
Yeah.
Like, I literally haven't been home since my fucking grandchild was last born. Yeah. I've been on the clock forever.
Just been going around voting on technology stuff that I don't understand.
I haven't slept in fucking weeks. I've been reading up to prepare for this trial. I'm fine.
Yeah. And the Admiral who has the worst... I was watching it, and I think it's probably the worst Admiral part in all of Star Trek, including Admirals. He has no speaking lines. He just stands up and leaves. And that must have just been like, what member of the crew or who can we get with a non-speaking line that will pay $10 to show up on the day? We'll stuff him into a suit that we've already got made, like that fits someone else. Stuff him in there, and then he just has to walk away.
Well, I mean, what lines would they give him? Just him when he walks up, just be like, yeah, I just got to go make a quick call.
He needs to do like, this trial is over, and shout down.
He's not part of the trial. He's not part of the trial. He's probably just like, literally, he's going to go make a call to just be like, listen, Sati's kind of, yes. The thing that we said was going to happen.
It happened. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I did say that she should have been on leave months ago. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She doesn't know what a warp core looks like. It's hilarious.
Yeah, she doesn't know what a warp core looks like. So we're gonna have to send some guys in white jackets.
Yeah. I told her lamp was a replicator. She's been asking for food constantly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's either exhaustion or it's sleep deprivation, but she fucking she has a right good meltdown. Honestly, man, it must feel good.
What, getting there to melt down?
No, I mean having a meltdown. It must feel good, to just be like, oh, I'm going fucking mental now. Like,
depends on the meltdown. I'll say some meltdowns when you know what you're doing, like stuff you wouldn't normally do. Not good,
dude. Oh man, it must I looking back in my life, I've definitely felt better after having a cheeky little freak out.
Yeah. What else did I have on this? They pulled Picard up for violating the Prime Directive 9 times, which, this is a couple of seasons in, and I'm like, only 9? Yeah. I
mean, 9 times is a lot. I'll be honest.
It is the Prime Directive. It's General Order 1. He's just like,
that's, and like these things happen in, in under an hour for us, but a lot of the time, especially like in these courtroom episodes where they imply a series of, the events happening over a series of a few days, like, I don't imagine a first contact scenario is happening in an afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm sure it takes a couple of weeks to break that law.
Yeah. And the last note I've got in this episode, it's the Picard head in hands meme. So that's all I've got to say about this one. Obviously, a fantastic episode. If I'm honest, I don't think it's a great court episode because half the court stuff isn't court. it's this weird kangaroo court where it doesn't follow any sort of rule.
Yeah, it's
and then
like
she's just like, no, I'll get people in to see it now. You know?
Yeah, there's no third party. There's no judge. There's just like it's like holding a court. It's like a court and an interrogation.
Yeah,
and an investigation all at once. It's a very weird proceeding.
I only noticed on this rewatch that Riker's supposed to be the defense counsel.
Yeah, I was about to mention that.
And he doesn't do shit.
When no, he does. He has one moment when they allude to Simon Tarsis potentially being of Romulan descent. Riker pops up out of nowhere and is like, "Yo, if that's fucking true, don't fucking say anything. Plead the fifth. Plead the fifth, bro." And then he's like, "I choose not to answer that under grounds that I might incriminate myself," which is pleading the fifth.
Yeah. Normally people just say, "I plead the fifth," rather than say the full thing, though, rather than if I say the answer, it'll incriminate me. I mean,
under the actually people often in TV and film, I do hear people say like under the grounds they might be self-incriminating. I believe they say it in The First Duty. I could be wrong. I believe I've definitely heard it in another Star Trek thing.
Yeah, they might do it in The First Duty.
But yeah, it's like it's one of those things where it's like, look, out of context, it might seem incriminating, or just like if you know me, it's not incriminating at all. But within the context of this court, it would seem very incriminating.
Very bad.
Yeah, so like I won't talk about it now. We can reconvene after I've had a chance to talk to my legal counsel about how we are going to share this information with the court.
But in any case, I'll say it's guilty of being a good episode.
I would also say that it's very guilty of being a good episode.
Very guilty. We've got too much evidence.
Yeah. Overwhelming evidence of this episode's goodness.
Yes. Yeah.
I sentenced the drumhead to 1,000,000 years hard labor down the good episode mines.
Mining those good episode stories.
Yeah.
Then since you only just mentioned it then, and I think it's maybe the last of TNG, The First Duty. It is I've got it in my notes. It's a board of inquiry, like when in Top Gun Maverick, Goose dies. They're like, "Oh, did you do anything wrong, Maverick, with your flying?" And they're doing the same here. It's Nova Squadron, or is it Red Squadron? Remind me.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I didn't draw that comparison.
Yeah.
But while I was watching The First Duty today, I did think to myself, this episode could have done with being a little bit more gay.
Top Gun. Yeah, if they had a volleyball scene.
They definitely could have done, there's definitely some magic in that Nick Locano's eyes.
Yeah. If only we'd get him for more than one episode. Nick Locano boy.
Only.
Yeah. Why can't we get him for some sort of, I don't know, series? They could do a spin-off maybe.
I still hard. My position is that is Tom Paris under a pseudonym.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, it feels to me very much like the creators are just trying to save themselves a character payment for 7 years. They've apparently said, because I was trying to read today, they said they thought Locano was, their excuse was Locano was irredeemable because he didn't come forward. Whereas they made Paris come forward in the version of where he crashed and killed people eventually. So he was redeemable. And that's such a dodgy, oh no, he has the exact same backstory, except he came forward, so he's redeemable.
Yeah, see, it's fine. It's fine. That's fine, because in my head, they're the same person.
Yeah.
And that second bit where he came forward, that's Tom Paris telling a lie.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with Tom Paris having told a lie about whether or not he came forward about having committed a crime.
Because Tom Paris is also a bit of a bastard.
It's a bit of a knobhead.
Yeah. In every episode he's in, pretty much.
But do you want to give the plot, and then do you want to call it at TNG and do the rest next week?
Yeah.
Let's make this a two-parter.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Two-parter episodes are cool.
Two-parter. So there's been a ship crash at Starfleet Academy involving Wesley, is how the episode starts off. And that's not how to break news to a mother.
No, you don't start with there's been an accident and your son was involved. Please respond.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he's fine. Squadron that he was flying in, because they're shuttle acrobat people, kind of pretty much, crashed, and one of them died. And it's Nick Locarno, Tom Paris, pretty much, and as the leader of this squadron, whether it's Nova or Red, I can't remember, depending
Nova
on
Squadron.
Is
Red
it
Squadron is from DS. Red Squad is a DS9 thing.
That's Valiant, isn't it? The episode Valiant, yeah. That squadron's lying about the maneuver it took because they were trying to do something showy, but was also against the rules to kind of commemorate the end of term for them. And one of them died, so they've been lying about it. And then people have to work out, so Picard works out that's what the lie was and puts them up and says, no, you were lying. If you don't tell the Academy, I will. So Wesley decides to tell the Academy and drop them all in it. And he gets off very lightly. Locarno gets shit out of the Academy.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah, man. I will say, you kind of hit the nail on the head when you say that, Wesley's the one that drops him in it, because on a rewatch, I'm like, their alibi was somewhat airtight. Had it not been for just how suspicious and guilty looking Wesley Crusher was.
Yeah.
They found some evidence. They found evidence of the maneuver, the star maneuver that they were doing, but it feels like they were only looking for that evidence because that kid looks guilty as fuck.
Wesley in his dorm room that has handles. I always bring this up to people. His dorm room has actual handles. It's one of the only doors in Star Trek that does. Why? Who knows? He's like, oh no, Mum and surrogate dad, can you leave? I need to talk in secret to Tom Paris here.
Yep.
And Picard's like, no, let's try and find out what happened here. Not that he thinks Wesley is guilty, but he's trying to.
Wesley. He doesn't think that Wesley murdered the boy.
Yeah.
But
he's pissed. The first duty is to the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wesley, I imagine, is a terrible liar.
Yeah. Do you want to know my terrible joke? Sometimes I note down a terrible joke to read on episode. And my terrible joke for this episode is they were going to do the Starburst maneuver, and they bring it up to Picard. Geordi, brings it up to Picard, but in his time it was called the Opal Fruits maneuver, so he doesn't recognize it.
Very good, sir. Very good.
That is going to be something that a very small population gets.
That's a joke that's so good I couldn't laugh.
Yes.
All I could say was that's a good joke.
Again, it is too hot, and I'm
furious that I didn't make that joke.
Yeah, I was watching too many episodes today, and I was like, "How can I frame this as a joke?" And then I just scratched out the framing of the joke, and I just said, "Read joke."
Yeah, do what I do. Yeah, just do. Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. I thought of a stupid thing.
What's your stupid thing?
No, that's just me doing an impression of myself.
That's me every day. That's me every day.
I think I do like this episode. As far as Wesley episodes go, it's definitely one of my favorite.
Oh yeah,
all of my favorite Wesley episodes are later, and I do prefer,
but not
sad
too
Wesley.
late. But not too late.
Too late. But
Yeah.
I do prefer sad Wesley episodes.
Yeah. Him in the game, him in this, good episodes. Him where he's crying about, he just wants to go have a vision quest. Bad episode.
I don't mind the Vision Quest episode. I mean,
it's not a good
I haven't minded it throughout my life. As I've gotten older and I've learned more about the world that we live in, I obviously have more problems with that episode, specifically regarding its the way it deals with the issue of Indigenous peoples' treatment by the rest of people. Questionable, but that's not what we're talking about. Talking about Wesley being a whiny little bitch.
Yeah.
And this episode is Wesley using his powers for good. Yeah. His power of being a whiny little shitbag. He uses his abilities for good.
And the episode, maybe in the green room beforehand or very early on in this episode, we were discussing how it related, all these episodes relating to Alex Jones. And this is the same where it's perjury by omission.
Yes.
Where Wesley and the rest of that squadron just say like, no, we did this maneuver. We went past Jupiter and then he died.
And then he died.
Locarno has to start perjuring himself more by saying like, oh no, he was just a madman. He flew everywhere. He was shaking on controls. He was doing all weird shit. Whereas nothing Wesley or the other guys said were lies. They just missed out that they did this incredibly dangerous maneuver, which is also, not that Alex Jones was doing crazy maneuvers, but he was perjuring himself by omitting the truth on the stand. So,
yeah,
it relates to real life.
Yay! Wonderful that the horrible thing that happened in the TV show relates to real life.
Real life horribleness. Yeah.
And of course they check the evidence.
Yeah.
God. Sorry, you've just reminded me of Alex Jones being such a fucking like that, and like that's the thing. You bring it up, Nick Locarno thinking this will be fine. I will get away with this. Because I'm speaking my version of the truth. And how,
in front of Joshua, whatever his name's dad, he's just like, no, Joshua's like, he couldn't fly stick, he was, he didn't know his left from right. He had poor vision. He was just the worst pilot in the world. He was shaking everywhere.
Total victim blaming.
Yeah.
And it's what I call the narcissist's folly, which is it is this idea of like when faced with being in trouble for the shit that you have done, it is this mindset of I will figure out a way out of this.
Yeah.
And that is what Nick Locarno, that's where he's at. That's where Alex Jones was leading up to the verdict of his hearing, which is, I'm here. I'm going to tell the truth. People are going to believe what I say because I feel like what I am saying is the truth.
They're putting they're putting chemicals in the water to make the tars gay.
I don't like putting chemicals in the fucking water.
Yeah.
Fucking God, honestly, it's just mind blowing. But that is the it is the narcissist folly of I will be fine. I will reason my way out of this.
Yeah.
Because if I keep enforcing what I believe is the truth, then reality will have to get in line with what I am reinforcing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
It's
What do you think about the sentence for this one? Because we could have talked about the sentences more, but like Nick Lacana gets shit out of the Starfleet Academy altogether because he was the leader and forced them to do it more. The rest of them just get put back a year.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if they all should have been expelled. I don't know if he should maybe face time.
Well, if he's Tom Paris, he ended up at a penal colony, didn't he?
I mean, like,
eventually?
that's the thing. Well, I mean, the penal colony was because he did some shit with the Marquis, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did.
So, like, I
killing people.
can see if I don't know. The way because Nick Lacano is Tom Paris.
Yeah.
In my eyes, Nick Lacano should have gone to prison.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, hopefully we know Tom Paris went to a penal colony, but hopefully by Star Trek days it would be rehabilitation rather than prison. But they just seem to have Tom Paris breaking rocks.
Well, like this is the thing. Like, Nick Lacano gets sentenced to jail. This is how I would have reasoned it. Like in a reality where my headcanon is real, the way it would work out would be Nick Lacano would be sentenced to jail time, but then because he's actually secretly Admiral Paris's son, he gets let off the jail time and just gets discharged.
Yep.
Gets discharged out of the fucking academy. And then goes and joins the Marquis.
Yeah.
But my headcanon is not reality. And
I think Tom Paris says he gets discharged because Admiral Paris pulled strings.
Yeah.
So
Nick Lacano should have been sentenced to jail time, and they all should have been kicked out.
Well,
if you ask me,
like Wesley becomes a whistleblower, it's far too late, obviously. Wesley becomes a whistleblower and faces the same punishment as the rest of them as well, other than Lacano. And you go like, I don't think being put back a year is that much punishment. It's like, it's not like you're paying for your studies. You're just, can you redo that last year of university? And by the way, you don't have to pay for it because no one pays for anything in this reality. You just don't go onto a starship for another year. Doesn't seem harsh enough, really. And then Wesley's the whistleblower, but gets the same treatment as the girl who's in the episode Lower Decks. She's the next most prominent member of the squadron.
Yes, Sito.
Sito
comes back. Yes, the Bajoran.
Yeah,
she comes back as an engineer, a security officer. Yeah,
Ooh.
For a bit.
Yeah,
she comes back for a bit.
Yeah, for a few episodes.
For most of an episode.
Yeah, I think she's in the background of one as well. They line her up by having her in the background.
Yeah, they did in the later episodes of Next Gen. They did start bringing in things like continuity and stuff.
But they're like. And she says, you don't know, in that episode, she says, you don't know how hard it was, she's saying to Picard, going back in a year and then having to prove myself again. And it's like, what are you talking about?
A kid died.
Led to the kid's death, and you lied about it.
You don't know what it was like. I had to do all those assignments again.
Yeah.
They said, shall we do the starburst maneuver? And I had to go, no, because the last time I did it, someone died. It is a good moment in the episode when the kid's dad comes to see Wesley and he's like, I'm sorry that my son's ineptitude has gotten you into trouble. Thank you for being his friend in spite of how shit he was. And it's just like, you killed that kid.
Yeah.
And now his dad is thanking you for it and apologizing for the trouble.
Yeah. You killed that kid. You had one of your mates stand up and say that kid was shit at everything. Then that dad has come to you and said he said about a time you went skiing and you lent him a jumper, probably one of the horrible ones you wore in early TNG. I just want to say thank you for being his friend. It's like, fucking hell, you know. You don't need to hammer home that Wesley's guilty that much.
Like, honestly, after that scene, I was howling with laughter just because, like, the camera looks at him and he's just like, okay. And it's just like, you feel so guilty.
Yeah. So ridiculous.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Fucking Wesley with his little fucking puppy dog eyes, like. I mean, he totally did the right thing. Totally.
Actually.
But it's his little face while he's doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it's a good Wesley episode, and there are few and far between of them. So, praise to Will Wheaton for being in a good episode eventually.
Yeah, man. Good for him.
Yeah.
Has to happen every now and then.
Are we both voting this episode as like guilty of being a damn good episode?
I find this episode guilty of being a good episode.
Oh, good.
Absolutely.
Well, that might get us all the way through TOS, TAS, TNG.
Yeah.
Episodes.
So so shall we call it for part 1 of...
Yeah.
What should we call this? Should we call it Courtroom Trek? Should we call it Perry Mason continues?
Oh, Perry Mason moments.
Perry Mason moments. Oh, yes, Perry Mason moments. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perry Mason moments on
part
Failing
1.
Frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part 1 of the... Yeah, I like that.
Cool. Excellent.
So, like, all in all, what do we think of Star Trek Courtroom episodes as we've gone through them? I think for me, one thing that I have to say that I've noticed is that sometimes Star Trek can portray a very strange way of carrying out justice, and like clearly has a very loose grasp of contemporary law.
Yeah, I mean, I think in my mind, a lot of it is built around military law anyway.
Yeah.
You know, having the JAG officers, there's not really a jury. It's just a couple of officers above you get to vote on stuff. Seems so strange compared to like the juries we're kind of more used to.
And this is an American produced TV show.
Yeah.
And it is a Navy styled organization, and like American law is based around old British Navy law.
Navy stuff.
So like it does all kind of feed into itself in that way.
It does put more credence to like Starfleet is just it's more a military organization because it has a military court. You know, I suppose most of the ones we've talked about today are military focused. You know, it is someone tried to take over the ship, or you want to resign your commission, but it's so military. There's no court of appeals that is separate to this anything. You know, your judge is just an admiral, a dude. In most cases, you know, you
the
don't
nearest,
have any...
like usually the nearest one.
Yeah, we'll go back to Starbase 11 just to see if someone's there for it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get tried by 12 good persons and true, 12 good men and true. It is just a case of who's around, who's got a higher rank, who's around. So it feels very military to me, very very set up military. And I think maybe the next lot of episodes we're going to talk about, some of them deviate from that a bit.
Yes,
some of them do.
Yeah, I think that in part 2, I think that like in terms of like the actual legal proceedings, I find a lot more interesting in the later episodes. DS9 has some pretty spectacular like courtroom proceedings going on that I really enjoy. There's a Voyager episode that I'm quite looking forward to doing because that's going to plant the seeds for another topic I'd like to tackle on here. Won't get into it now, but
you want to do that one then?
Oh, I definitely, I've decided I want to do it now.
Okay, I'll add it to my watch list. I didn't watch it this way around.
If we're doing a two-parter on this, bitch, you may as well.
Yeah, let's add it in.
Yeah.
Cool. So very, very much looking forward to part 2. The 22 whatevers of legal proceedings in 2270s on, let's say. I think
So I guess what's a wise thing to say? Listen, Mike. You have to tell the truth when you were on this podcast. Okay?
Can we get a whiteboard that says that?
Like, I can't believe I have to remind you of this, but I'm going to remind you. You cannot lie when you were on the podcast. Okay? Yeah. Are you chewing gum?
Don't think so.
I don't need to see the inside of your mouth, Mr. Smart.
Okay, sir.
I am quoting my new favorite judge.
Yeah. Wasn't she good?
She was brilliant.
Instantly pissed off by everything. So should we sign off and say until next time?
Yeah.
You are dismissed from court.
Yeah, this court is in recess. This court is in recess, dumbasses.